Iran's supreme leader is publicly acknowledging the steep death toll among anti-government demonstrators during widespread protests that have rocked that country. Let's bring in Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst. He is in Israel with all the latest. Hello, Trey.
Shannon, good morning. Iranian officials now admit the death toll from protests since late December now stands at more than 5,000. That number is expected to rise. On Saturday, Iran's supreme leader spent much of the day blaming America for demonstrations in Iran and making remarks broadcast on state television where he called President Trump a criminal.
The
nature of this sedition was American. It was clear. The Americans planned and acted. The aim of the Americans, and I am stating this clearly and unequivocally with 40-odd years of experience in the Islamic Republic, is to swallow Iran.
In an interview with Politico, President Trump responded by saying it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. Much of the Iranian diaspora has called for new leadership to be Reza Pahlavi, the exiled prince.
The Islamic Republic is close to collapse. Ali Khamenei and his thugs know this. That's why they are lashing out like a wounded animal, desperate to cling to power. The people have not retreated.
Amid talks of regime change and the positioning of U.S. military assets, reports indicate that President Trump decided to delay a strike against Iran in part at the request of regional allies, including Israel. The United States played a major role in shooting down Iranian missiles last year during the 12-day war and would need to assist if another conflict develops.
We are operating at peak readiness for a wide range of scenarios. In recent weeks, we have strengthened capabilities and increased readiness along all borders.
Here in Israel, the military remains on high alert, preparing for the possibility of war with Iran. Shannon?
All right, Trey Yingst reporting from Tel Aviv. Thank you, Trey, always. Joining me now, Senator John Cornyn of Texas, member of the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, welcome.
Thanks, Shannon.
Oh, let's start here. Politico said yesterday, President Trump said Saturday, he called for an end to the Ayatollah's 37-year reign. He says it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. What does that mean to you as far as U.S. involvement in what's been playing out on the streets there? What are you comfortable with? What would the president need to come to Congress for based on what actions he decides to take?
Well, as you know, since 1979, the Iranian Revolution, Iran has been at war with the West and has American blood on its hands in Iraq and of course, has threatened to wipe Israel off the map and developed a nuclear weapons program that thankfully President Trump had the courage and decisiveness to step in and set back months, if not years. So obviously the Iranian people are the ones that are on the losing end of this proposition. So far, the sanctions regime that the president has put into place has weakened the economy, exerting maximum pressure on the regime, but he has multiple options. And only he knows which of those options he will choose. But I'm glad to see him standing up for these protesters. And the numbers, of course, if the regime is saying 5,000, you know it's much more than that, people who've had the courage to step up and speak out against this tyrannical regime.
Would you support military action? I think of your GOP colleague, Senator Lindsey Graham, who says he hopes it's a big move on Iran.
Well, I think, you know, among the options the president has is to strike the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And of course, during the 12-day war, the run-up to that, Israel did basically decapitated the leadership of the IRGC, which is the most aggressive and most militant aspect of the Iranian state. So it depends on what it is. I don't know what it is, but the president does have constitutional authority, certainly, to protect our troops and interests in the region. And so I don't think he's going to need permission from Congress to do that. This has been a subject of endless debate over years, decades, really. But he knows what options he's considering, and I think we're all going to have to wait and learn.
Okay, so another foreign policy hotspot, Greenland. The president makes clear he intends to move forward with some kind of ownership or purchase or control of Greenland. He put out on Truth Social yesterday that he is going to enact a 10% tariff on a number of different countries he believes are standing in the way of this, saying it'll go to 25% June 1st and continue until the U.S. reaches a deal to buy Greenland. Your Senate GOP colleague Tom Tillis, who just traveled over there in a bipartisan delegation to try to smooth things over with Denmark, he says this is bad for America, it's bad for American businesses, it's bad for our allies, and it undermines all the work President Trump's actually done to strengthen NATO. What's your take on this Greenland debate?
Well, Greenland is strategically located, as you know, and as the Chinese and the Russians have been increasingly active in the Arctic, otherwise known as the High North, I think the president rightly understands that this is a strategically important piece of real estate. But Greenland and the Danes have been our allies for a long time now. The president is the consummate deal maker, and I think he's looking for a deal. Sometimes he believes in strategic ambiguity and talks in terms that get people's attention. But ultimately, I think there's a deal to be made, and I'm glad that Secretary Rubio and the Vice President have been engaging the Danes, because this is something we should be able to do in the best interest of both countries.
Well, what about the suggestion that there could be a military action with respect to Greenland? As you mentioned, Denmark, a NATO ally of ours. Congressman Don Bacon, Republican over on the House side, says, he thinks that's impeachable by Republicans or Democrats if this administration did that.
I don't think that's on those cards are on the table. I think this is going to be a negotiated outcome. Again, President Trump's the deal maker, and I expect him to make a deal.
Okay, let's talk Venezuela while we've got you. Who do you think should be in leadership of that country right now? The White House is talking with Delcy Rodriguez, the acting president, but she was Maduro's number 2. The president also met this week with opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. Who do you think should be in charge?
Well, first of all, I can't, the way that the United States military acted in support of this law enforcement action, which is what it was, to arrest Nicolas Maduro, was nothing short of magnificent. But the president said that we've learned the lessons from Iraq, that collapsing the existing governing regime and creating an insurgency can result in a long war that they are trying to avoid in Venezuela. The good news is the president has multiple levers to use with Delcy Rodriguez. And I know that Secretary Rubio and more recently the CIA director were down there talking to her. This is going to be a multi-year transition, but I think in the end it will be a much better outcome for the people of Venezuela, and it will result in them not being the source of drugs that come into the United States and cause untold human misery.
I want to try to get to a couple of domestic issues as well. You're in a heated GOP primary run down in Texas to maintain your Senate seat. The AP says this: he's fighting a perception among some GOP voters that he's a moderate. They quote a suburban woman from Dallas saying, quote, he hasn't been consistent in his conservative representation in his voting. The president has not endorsed in that race. What do you say to the response that you haven't been conservative enough?
Well, I've supported the president, and as I believe the responsibility of the majority party is to support the president of the same party. My voting record is consistently in support of the president's policies. I helped confirm 3 new members of the U.S. Supreme Court. We passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act back in 2017, and more recently helped to get the Working Family Tax Cuts Act. I've been supportive of President Trump. I have a good relationship with him, but in terms of any endorsement or the like, that's on his timeline. In the meantime, we're prepared to run and win on March the 3rd, and we're ready for a potential runoff on May the 26th.
All right. Well, we will invite the other folks who are part of that primary to join us as well and make their case. Senator Cornyn, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Shannon.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.